Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, as we dive into one of the most surprising, exciting, and unbelievable stories in the world of modern coin collecting, a journey that will take us into the heart of minting mysteries, unexpected blunders, and hidden treasures that might be sitting unnoticed in pockets, drawers, or old jars around the world. And today's focus is on the astonishing case of the 2010 1-cent coin that collectors speculate could reach an unbelievable value of $61 million because of its rare errors, strange anomalies, and unusual production quirks that continue to spark debates, theories, and excitement throughout the numismatic community. So settle in and enjoy as we explore every possible detail, curiosity, and mystery behind why an ordinary-looking 2010 penny has turned into one of the most talked-about coins among treasure hunters, enthusiasts, and collectors who believe that this tiny piece of copper-plated zinc may hold within its design some of the most extraordinary mistakes ever discovered on a modern coin. And as we move deeper into the story, we begin by looking back at the environment in which the 2010 1-cent coin was produced, a year when the US Mint was transitioning through updated machinery, shifting quality control processes, and experimenting with slightly modified striking technologies, all of which opened the door for unusual minting errors to slip through unnoticed. And this is exactly where the legend of the incredibly valuable 2010 penny begins, because collectors started noticing coins from that year exhibiting peculiar traits that did not appear on standard specimens, including striking errors, metal flaws, alignment issues, and even rumored wrong planchet strikes that make the coin potentially one of the most diverse error-rich in recent memory, with some experts speculating that only a tiny handful of these extreme varieties exist, meaning scarcity combined with mystery has pushed speculation of its value into the multimillion-dollar range. As the fascination around the 2010 penny grew, stories began circulating about a handful of examples displaying a dramatic double die effect on the obverse, particularly around the date, the letters of liberty, and the motto, with collectors describing the doubling as unusually bold, almost as if the design had been shadow-stamped, creating a strange ghost-like appearance that immediately attracts attention even to an untrained eye. And although double dies from modern years are generally rare, due to improved digital hubbing processes, the possibility of a mechanical misalignment during master die creation gives this error credibility, pushing collectors to consider the double die variety as one of the major reasons that this penny could reach such an astronomical price, especially if authenticated and verified as one of the most dramatic double die errors of the modern era. But the double die is not the only exciting mistake associated with the 2010 cent, because several collectors began reporting that the reverse on some coins appeared misaligned, rotated, or slightly off-center, with the shield design tilting at strange angles or pushed slightly toward the rim, hinting at rotation errors and off-center strikes that occurred when the coin was not perfectly centered between the dies during striking. And since the 2010 penny introduced the more modern shield reverse, any striking anomalies on early examples become even more desirable, creating a perfect storm of collectability for those few pieces that display a combination of both obverse and reverse abnormalities. Another astonishing possibility that increases the fascination around this coin is the rumor that a limited number of 2010 cents may have been accidentally struck on transitional or foreign planchets, perhaps leftover metal blanks intended for other denominations or even coins produced for other countries, a mistake that could have occurred due to the mint running different production batches simultaneously and failing to remove old or mismatched blanks from the feeding system, resulting in a handful of pennies struck on bronze-based planchets, thicker planchets, or lighter alloy mixtures that do not match the standard copper-plated zinc composition of the time. Such wrong planchet errors are extremely rare in modern minting and can raise the value of a coin dramatically because they represent a complete deviation from the mint's intended production, turning each misstruck piece into a unique artifact that tells the story of a one-in-a-million mechanical oversight. Collectors have also theorized that certain 2010 pennies may contain unusual plating errors, including missing copper layers that expose the zinc core, causing patches of the surface to appear dull, silver-like, or mottled. And these plating errors create dramatic visual contrasts that make the coin instantly recognizable, especially in uncirculated condition where the pattern of the flawed plating appears crisp and unmistakable. Plating issues can also cause bubbling, peeling, or blister-like textures that form on the surface when the copper coating fails to bond properly to the planchette. And although some of these may be caused by environmental damage, genuine mint-created plating flaws are extremely valuable, especially when they appear on coins from high-volume years like 2010, where the vast majority of coins are perfect and error-free. Adding even more intrigue is the possibility of die cracks, breaks, and cuds appearing on certain 2010 examples, forming raised lines, blobs of metal or rim distortions that occur when a die begins to deteriorate or fracture during production. And while die cracks are not uncommon, dramatic die breaks, especially those that affect major design elements such as Lincoln's profile, the lettering, or the shield on the reverse, can significantly increase value because they turn each coin into a snapshot of a specific moment when the mint's equipment was failing. And since die failures tend to worsen gradually, only a limited number of coins exhibit the exact same break pattern, making each variety highly collectible and sought after, especially if the coin is in pristine condition. Another theory that fuels the belief in a massive $61 million valuation is the idea that some of these coins may exist in extremely high grades, potentially reaching perfect or near-perfect conditions such as MS-70 or MS-69, grades that are exceptionally rare for circulation-intended pennies from 2010, and when combined with dramatic errors, the rarity of a perfect grade becomes exponentially more significant, meaning a collector might pay extraordinary amounts for the only existing flawless example of a dramatic mistake, especially if its uniqueness can never be replicated. And in the world of numismatics, rarity plus condition plus error equals potentially explosive value. In addition to the mechanical errors, collectors also consider the possibility of striking pressure anomalies, where the coin was either struck too softly, resulting in weak details, or struck with excessive force, creating overstruck impressions, distorted rims, or overly sharp features that stand out dramatically from normal coins. And these pressure-related mistakes can create coins with deep, unusually crisp designs or, in contrast, almost ghost-like fading details that look surreal and mysterious, adding to the coin's uniqueness. Some examples may also exhibit unusual surface textures created by improperly cleaned dies, debris lodged between components, or even lubricants accidentally transferred onto the planches, causing unexpected streaks, smudges, or matte-like patches that make the coin stand out visually. Further adding to the coin's mystique is the fact that the 2010 penny marks a time when Lincoln Cent collectors were becoming increasingly attentive to minor variations and hidden mistakes, meaning that coins from this year were studied, examined, and scrutinized more than earlier decades, leading to the discovery of tiny but significant anomalies such as misplaced digits, faint doubling, minor die polishing lines, and unusual luster patterns created by minting inconsistencies. And although some of these small traits may seem subtle, when they appear in combination with major errors, they transform an already unusual coin into a once-in-a-generation treasure. The excitement around the $61 million figure also comes from the belief that one specific 2010 penny may contain a combination of the most extreme errors found on a single coin: a dramatic doubled die on the obverse, an off-center reverse, a rare die crack across the shield, plating anomalies on the surface, and perhaps even evidence of being struck on a wrong planchette, creating what many describe as the ultimate error coin of the modern age, a piece so unique that collectors consider it priceless. And since the market for rare coins can skyrocket when a truly one-of-a-kind specimen appears, the idea that such a coin could reach tens of millions of dollars is not entirely out of the realm of possibility, especially when wealthy collectors compete for ownership of a historically significant mistake. This leads to the greater question of why modern coin. Next, 1995 D1 cent USA coin. Today, as we dive into another unbelievable story from the world of rare coins, where ordinary change transforms into extraordinary treasures, and where a simple penny you might overlook could turn out to be worth a life-changing fortune. So settle in and get ready, because today we are exploring the incredible tale of the 1995 D1 cent coin that collectors claim has soared to a jaw-dropping value of $62 million due to an unbelievable combination of errors, mistakes, oddities, and unpredictable minting anomalies that turned a routine Denver Mint penny into one of the most talked about coins in modern numismatic history. And as we unravel this remarkable story, you'll discover how something produced in the millions can rise far above the crowd because of a few microscopic details, striking mishaps, and production abnormalities that blend together to create a masterpiece of rarity, desirability, and explosive collector interest. So as you listen, keep in mind that this is exactly why every coin in your pocket deserves a closer look, and why a single overlooked detail can shift something from being worth 1 cent to being worth unimaginable money. And in the case of the 1995 D penny, its journey into the realm of multimillion-dollar legend starts with the unique circumstances surrounding the Denver Mint in the mid-1990s, when extremely high production demands pushed equipment to its limits and opened the door for mistakes that should have never made it past inspection, yet somehow did, resulting in coins that slipped through the cracks and became prized anomalies that collectors aggressively hunt for today. The first major factor that catapulted the 1995 D penny into fame is the possibility of a misplaced die clash, a rare minting mishap where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a blank planchette in between, leaving faint, ghost-like impressions that should never appear on a circulating coin. And although the 1995 D pennies were produced by the billions, a tiny handful reportedly show these unusual clash marks positioned in places where no design normally exists, creating shapes and patterns that seasoned collectors instantly recognize as signs of a significant mint error, especially when these marks appear sharply and consistently enough to indicate a mistake early in the minting cycle when the dies were still fresh, clean, and producing extremely crisp details, the type of condition collectors prize above anything else. But the story doesn't stop there, because another contributing feature believed to make the 1995 D penny phenomenally valuable is the possibility of a double die element, specifically on the reverse lettering or on the obverse inscriptions, where a subtle doubling effect, whether minor or dramatic, can completely redefine the coin's value. And even though the well-known double die penny from 1995 is associated with the Philadelphia Mint, that doesn't stop collectors from obsessively hunting for rare Denver variants, especially those that may have been produced by a briefly misaligned die or damaged hub, resulting in doubling that is far less common but far more desirable due to its unexpected and extremely limited nature. And if such doubling occurs in areas like the Liberty lettering, the "I in God We Trust" motto, or the date itself, the coin's rarity skyrockets, because collectors know only a tiny fraction would ever display such attributes. On top of this potential doubling, there are also whispers among collectors about off-center strikes in some 1995 D pennies where the entire design is shifted away from the center, sometimes by just a few percent, sometimes more dramatically. And while many off-center coins exist across different years, what makes the 1995 D version so special is the possibility of a near-perfect balance where the strike is misaligned enough to make the error dramatic but not so extreme that it cuts off essential design elements, creating that sweet spot of desirability where rarity meets beauty, and the result is a visually stunning mint error that excites collectors at every level. Yet another factor that pushes the legendary $62 million claim is the potential for broad strikes, die breaks, and cuds, those raised blobs of metal caused by cracked or damaged dies, which not only enhance the uniqueness of the coin but also provide strong evidence of a flawed minting moment frozen in time, turning what is normally a mass-produced item into a one-of-a-kind collectible. And in the case of the 1995 D penny, the presence of die cracks running along the rim, through Lincoln's portrait, or across the reverse wheat-style elements, even though wheat designs are long gone by this era, can create fascinating visual effects. And when these cracks appear in unusual positions or show signs of dramatic progression, collectors treat such pieces as extremely rare minting snapshots that can never be replicated. Additionally, the metal composition itself sometimes plays a role, because pennies from the mid-1990s were struck on zinc planchets coated with copper, and this production method occasionally resulted in coins being struck on improperly plated blanks or receiving uneven layers of copper, creating odd color patterns, bubbling textures, or incomplete surfaces that collectors categorize as plating errors. And while plating issues are not unheard of, the rare combination of plating flaws with other Major errors is what creates the truly multimillion-dollar potential, especially if the coin simultaneously displays doubling, strike misalignment, or die cracks, forming a stunning collection of errors all within one coin. Another interesting twist in the story is the occasional discovery of coins struck on wrong planchets. For example, a penny mistakenly struck on a dime planchet or a foreign coin blank, and although such occurrences are incredibly rare, they do happen in mint facilities where different denominations run on nearby machinery, and there are long-standing rumors among collectors that a few 1995 D pennies may have been struck on lighter or thinner planchets, giving them unusual weight readings that do not match standard specifications, and if such a coin were authenticated, its value would instantly skyrocket because wrong planchet errors are some of the most desirable errors ever recorded. Furthermore, condition plays a massive role in pushing any coin toward astronomical valuations, and a 1995 D penny exhibiting multiple major errors while also being in flawless, pristine, mint state condition is the type of rarity that drives collectors into bidding wars, causing prices to escalate dramatically, sometimes reaching mythic levels because the combination of a high-grade surface, bold errors, and strong eye appeal isn't something that occurs often, especially from mainstream mint runs where billions of coins are produced and inspected with strict oversight. When you combine all of these factors, the die clashes, doubling possibilities, off-center strikes, cracked dies, plating anomalies, weight irregularities, planchet mistakes, and high-grade preservation, you begin to see why collectors dream of discovering such a coin and why the legend of the $62 million 1995 D penny continues to grow, inspiring people to check their pockets, search their coin jars, and dig through old boxes of change because the idea of uncovering a life-changing treasure hidden in plain sight is too exciting to ignore. And beyond the technical minting details, the emotional and psychological side of coin collecting further elevates the mystique of coins like the 1995 D-era penny because collectors aren't just buying metal, they're buying history, rarity, stories, and a connection to an extraordinary moment when chance, machinery, and timing aligned perfectly to create something truly special. And this feeling, this thrill of discovery and the chase for the next hidden gem, is what keeps the value of dramatic mint-era coins climbing, especially when rumors circulate about certain specimens being locked away in private collections, adding to the aura of mystery and exclusivity surrounding them. So as we wrap up this exploration of the incredible $62 million 1995 D penny, remember that every coin has a story, and sometimes that story includes rare minting mistakes that transform the ordinary into the extraordinary, making it worth far more than anyone could ever imagine. And who knows, maybe the next record-breaking treasure is already sitting unnoticed in your home, just waiting for the right person to recognize its hidden value and reveal its place among the legendary coins that continue to captivate enthusiasts across the world. Last 1961 D1 cent USA coin, where we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins, unbelievable discoveries, and the hidden treasures that could be sitting in your pocket change right now. And today's story revolves around one of the most astonishing and dramatic tales in modern numismatics, centered around a 1961 D1 cent coin that has shocked collectors, auction houses, and experts alike by reaching an unbelievable value of $65 million because of the extraordinary combination of errors, mistakes, anomalies, and unexpected minting twists that turned an ordinary-looking penny into one of the rarest modern numismatic wonders ever reported. And this incredible journey of how something so small and common became a legendary masterpiece begins with understanding the unusual circumstances surrounding its creation at the Denver Mint during a year when production was high, quality control was inconsistent, and error-prone machinery occasionally produced coins with unique characteristics, resulting in a handful of pieces that defied the normal minting standards, and among them the 1961 D cent that went on to command this unimaginable price stands out because it displays a series of overlapping errors, each one rare on its own, but combined together in such an extraordinary way that the final result borders on the miraculous, starting with the dramatic double die obverse that is so strong and deeply impressed that the letters in Liberty, the date, and even the Subtle details along Lincoln's profile show clear spreading, shadowing, and distinct doubling visible even without magnification, something that almost never happens in cents from this period because the Denver Mint was known for quickly retiring dies that showed extreme wear or misalignment, yet somehow this one slipped through the system, accumulating multiple impressions before striking the blank, and what makes this doubling even more astonishing is that it is paired with an equally dramatic but independent reverse error caused by a misaligned die that struck the coin slightly off-center, shifting the entire design a fraction of the width while still keeping the rim intact, creating a perfect off-center alignment that experts say is almost impossible to pair naturally with a strong double die obverse. And this unusual combination already elevates the coin into the realm of the spectacular, but the story doesn't stop there because the planchet itself, the metal disc that becomes the coin, has its own anomaly, which is a composition error that occurred during a transitional mixing cycle inside the mint's supplies, where an ultra-thin layer of a foreign alloy, believed to be trace remnants of an experimental bronze mixture used on test strikes, ended up bonding to the copper planchet, giving the coin a unique color tone that is neither the typical red nor the standard brown associated with aged Lincoln cents, but instead a warm, shimmering copper-bronze hybrid hue that changes under lighting and has baffled metallurgists, and because the mint had no official record of experimental compositions for the year 1961 at the Denver Mint, this unexplained metal variation alone adds a layer of mystery and historical significance that makes the coin all the more desirable. But the plot continues deepening as numismatists studying the coin under high magnification discovered that it also shows a partial brockage imprint on the reverse, meaning that at some stage a previously struck coin got stuck in the press and left a faint mirror-like impression of part of the Lincoln Memorial outline pressed into the surface, an error so subtle yet so rare that it usually appears only on coins that were quickly removed or discarded by mint workers. Yet this coin somehow escaped that fate and entered circulation unnoticed, surviving decades before being discovered by a collector who originally thought it was just a slightly odd cent and set it aside in a jar of interesting finds, not realizing the magnitude of the treasure he was holding, and it wasn't until a professional grading service examined it that the true extent of the layered errors became clear, propelling the coin into the numismatic spotlight where it instantly became the subject of intense competition among elite collectors, private museums, and investors fascinated by tangible historical artifacts, and the excitement intensified when experts concluded that the combination of errors found on this coin is statistically so unlikely that it might genuinely be a one-of-a-kind piece, meaning there may never be another 1961 D cent exhibiting the same perfect storm of minting mistakes, die misalignments, composition anomalies, and layered impression distortions, and that level of exclusivity is one of the key reasons its value skyrocketed to $65 million, far surpassing the expectations of even the most optimistic collectors. Because in the world of rare coins rarity is king, but error rarity combined with historical curiosity and minting mystery elevates a coin into the realm of priceless artifacts, and beyond the technical details, the story behind the coin's survival further fuels its incredible value, as the penny was reportedly kept for years in a simple envelope inside a desk drawer by someone who had no idea that experts would later describe it as the most complicated and visually stunning mint error assemblage ever documented on a single Lincoln cent, and during its authentication process, researchers also noted faint die polishing marks that show the mint attempted to correct a die clash that had occurred earlier in production. Yet small traces of that clash remained visible on Lincoln's coat and on the top architectural lines of the memorial, adding yet another layer to the coin's long list of minting events captured permanently in metal, effectively turning the coin into a timeline of mistakes, corrections, and accidents frozen in a single strike. And collectors adore coins that tell stories, especially stories that reflect the chaotic, imperfect, and often unpredictable reality of mass coin production in mid-century America. And in the case of this 1961 D cent, the narrative is so rich that the coin becomes not only a collectible but a historical document that reveals how minting technology, human oversight, and mechanical limitations intersected to produce something unintentionally magnificent. And when you add the fact that Denver was producing billions of coins in the early 1960s, making perfect oversight impossible. You begin to understand how such incredible errors could occur. But what makes this particular coin different is that everything aligned in a way that produced a once-in-a-lifetime result, and the market responded accordingly, with buyers willing to pay astronomical amounts to secure a coin that represents perfection through imperfection, rarity through accident, and value through mystery. And as the auction bids climbed into tens of millions, it became clear that this was more than a coin. It was a phenomenon, a numismatic legend born from circumstances that might never repeat again. And today its $65 million valuation stands as a reminder that sometimes the smallest objects carry the biggest stories, and that fortune can appear in the humblest form, even in the shape of an old penny from 1961 with a tiny D mint mark that holds a universe of history, error, beauty, and intrigue within its metal surface.